Hey everyone, this is Sir ML, and in this video I will be talking about the menstrual cycle in human females. What is the menstrual cycle? It is the series of cyclic changes that occurs in the ovaries as well as the female reproductive tract to prepare them for fertilization and pregnancy. The menstrual cycle starts from puberty between the ages of 10 and 14 years up to menopause between the ages of 45 and 55 years. So therefore the reproductive period of a human female lasts between 30 and 33 years. The length of the cycle varies in women, but on average it is completed in 28 or 29 days. It is paused obviously during pregnancy. It is suppressed during lactation, and it permanently stops at menopause. This picture that you can see here is a graphical representation of what happens during the menstrual cycle. This particular picture was taken from the NCERT textbook, which I will have a link in the description below. So the menstrual cycle is divided into 4 phases. The first phase of the menstrual cycle is referred to as the follicular phase or proliferative phase. During this phase, there are steady levels of follicle stimulating hormones in the blood, and this hormone will stimulate the follicle cells in the ovary to start and develop, to start proliferating. The follicle cells will then surround the primary oocyte to form the primary follicle. This primary follicle will then become more mature and forms the mature follicle or Graafian follicle, which now contains the secondary oocyte. The secondary oocyte will be formed after the primary oocyte has undergone the first meiotic division. As the Graafian follicle matures, the follicle cells of this particular Graafian follicle will start to secrete more and more estrogen, and this will lead to the rise of the estrogen levels in the blood. Estrogen in turn will stimulate the thickness of the endometrium during the follicular phase. The follicular phase lasts for about 10 to 12 days, starting from the 5th day of menstrual cycle all the way up to the 13th and 14th day of menstrual cycle. During this phase as well, the fallopian tubes become densely ciliated to prepare for the next phase, which is the ovulatory phase. In the ovulatory phase, which lasts only for 1 day, and that is on the 14th day of menstrual cycle, there is a peak levels of estrogen in the blood. Estrogen will in turn stimulate the anterior pituitary to secrete a lot of the luteinizing hormone, and it is on the 14th day that we have peak levels of luteinizing hormone in the blood, and this is referred to as the LH surge. The rise of the luteinizing hormone in the blood will then stimulate the Graafian follicle to rupture and break apart, and this releases the secondary oocyte from the Graafian follicle into the fallopian tubes. And this release of secondary oocyte from the Graafian follicle into the fallopian tubes is known as ovulation. The next phase in the menstrual cycle is called the luteal phase or the secretory phase. During this phase, the empty Graafian follicle under the stimulation of luteinizing hormone again will change into the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum will then increase in size and therefore start secreting the hormone progesterone, and as the corpus luteum increases in size, the levels of progesterone in the blood start to also increase and reach its peak value during the luteal phase. The progesterone hormone will help to maintain the thickness of the endometrium. As we can see, during this luteal phase, the endometrium becomes more and more thick and also reaches a maximum thickness during this phase. It also becomes highly vascularized with the formation of more and more blood vessels to bring in more blood and oxygen, and also the endometrium become glandular and start secreting uterine milk that will help in the further development of the embryo and fetus. The last phase of the menstrual cycle is called the menstrual phase, and this starts from the first day of the menstrual cycle all the way up to the 4th and 5th day of menstrual cycle. During this phase, when the secondary oocyte remains unfertilized, the corpus luteum will degenerate into corpus albicans. With this, there will be decreased levels of progesterone in the blood. The uterine endometrium fails to also be maintained as there is low progesterone in the blood. During this phase, the unfertilized secondary oocyte, along with the ruptured endometrium, about 50 to 100 ml of blood and some mucus will be discharged through the vaginal orifice, and this will be called as the menstrual flow or menstruation. If, however, a sperm fertilizes the secondary oocyte, then a zygote will be formed. The zygote will undergo cleavage to form a blastula. The blastula will then undergo implantation in the endometrium, and a placenta will be formed between the fetus and the mother. Along with that, the levels of progesterone will remain stable in the blood, and also the placenta will secrete human chorionic gonadotropins or HCG hormones that would also help to maintain the thickness of the endometrium. Hope this video has given you a better understanding of the menstrual cycle. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and again, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.